Inside the Magic, show number 347 for November 27th, 2011. It is Sunday, November 27th, 2011. This is show 347 of Inside the Magic, and as always, I am your host, Ricky Briganti. We do have another great show, packed with Disney and theme park news and a whole lot more fun. And before we get started with all of that, I do invite you to visit our website over at InsideTheMagic.net. There you'll not only find our podcast, but also plenty of videos, photos, news, articles, and so much more. And if you ever have any news, tips, or questions, you can write to me at Ricky@InsideTheMagic.net, or you can call and leave a message at 407-494-4ITM. That's 4486. And now, let's get on with the show. This week's episode of Inside the Magic is brought to you by Magical Travel. Don't miss the holiday season at the Disneyland Resort. You can save 25 to 30% when you stay at one of the Disneyland Resort hotels for arrivals, throughout to the rest of this month and all the way up until the day before Christmas, December 24th. That offer expires December 10th, so you're going to want to call Magical Travel today at 866-207-8387 or visit them online at magicaltravel.com to receive a free price quote. And be sure to mention Inside the Magic to receive your free Disney gift card for qualifying bookings when you book your Disney vacation with Magical Travel. And by Audible, get a free audiobook download and access to over 85,000 titles simply by going to audibletrial.com/InsideTheMagic and signing up. And of course, thanks very much to listeners and viewers like you. We thank you for your donations, and if you're doing Christmas shopping on Amazon, please do so through InsideTheMagic.net/Amazon. Anything added to your cart after going through that link, we get credit for it, and we thank you very much for all of that. And now, let's start off the show with our trip around the world. Hopefully everybody had a very happy Thanksgiving with lots of food. I know I've been munching on a seemingly endless supply of turkey since Thursday. I think I've eaten, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 turkey meals since then. I'll probably have turkey again for dinner tonight, and that's probably it. I think I'll stop and it'd just be turkeyed out at that point. But it is very, very good, and we had a wonderful time here, and so hopefully everybody out there had a wonderful holiday as well. It's been nice taking a few days off from the world, but here we are once again recording another episode of the show. Of course, with it being a holiday week, there wasn't a whole lot of Disney and theme park news to talk about here, but we'll do what we can. Starting off with the Christmas season, which we are, I guess, now that Thanksgiving is over, we officially are in the Christmas season. Nobody can say bah humbug to that. It's moving from one holiday to the next. We had Halloween, we had Thanksgiving, now it is the Christmas time of year. So we'll start out over at Disneyland, where this is an offer that is no longer available, I believe, as of a couple of days ago, but Disneyland was offering a special Disneyland Candlelight Experience, which had to be booked by a couple of days ago, November 25th. It's going to take place December 4th through 5th, costing a whopping $1,250 per person based on double occupancy. For that $1,250, anybody who bought a ticket would get a one-night stay at the Grand Californian, including valet parking, an evening of holiday elegance, as Disney puts it, including a private reception and dinner at the Grand Californian, reserved seating for a performance of the Candlelight Processional on December 4th, candlelight mementos, a special breakfast in the park, along with a pre-opening walk through the park, a visit to several locations throughout the park with Disney legends and creative staff, including Dave Smith, Bob Gurr, Marty Sklar, and Tony Baxter, and Dave Caranci, and a visit to Walt Disney's private apartment above the Main Street USA firehouse, as well as reserved viewing of the Christmas parade and, of course, theme park entrance. It was a whole lot that you would get for anyone who plunked down the $1,250. I, of course, did not do that. I'm way out here in Orlando anyway, but regardless, that was quite a lot of money, but I'd be interested to hear if any of you listeners out there decided to go for this special holiday package that will be taking place just over a week from now, or right around a week from now. If you take part in it all, I'd love to hear all about it, so write in or call in a report. Now let's jump coast out here to Florida, excuse me, where Disney Parks' Christmas Day Parade will be taping very soon. Of course, they've already taped these segments out in California a few weeks ago for the parade. But now, just coming up on Friday, this coming Friday and Saturday, December 2nd and 3rd, is when Disney will be taping the segments out here at the Magic Kingdom. There has been no word yet for being able to take part as a day guest as far as getting tickets and watch the parade. I know some cast members have been able to secure tickets for them and guests, but I have not heard anything about the general public this year being able to attend the taping officially. Of course, you can just show up to the park that day, and you most certainly will see the taping. It's usually a pretty busy day in the park, certainly with people lining up all the way up and down Main Street and in Town Square to see it. No word as to exactly who the special celebrity guests and the musical guests and all of that will be yet, but it should be noted on those 2 days there will be some entertainment changes as a result of the parade. The Celebrated Dream Come True daytime parade is going to start in Frontierland at 5 p.m. on both of those days. The Main Street Trolley Show will not take place. Neither will the Move It, Shake It, Celebrate It Street Party. Oh, darn. And Dream Along with Mickey, the Castle Show, will only be performed on Friday, not Saturday, which tends to indicate that Saturday will be the taping day around the castle, whereas Friday will be the actual Main Street parade day. So you can plan accordingly if you don't care about any of those things that I just mentioned and you want to see the festivities going for the taping of the Christmas Day Parade. You can show up to the Magic Kingdom on one or both of those days. Otherwise, you can catch the Christmas Day Parade on TV, of course, on Christmas Day in the morning, December 25th on ABC. Now, right there in the Magic Kingdom, a new food option has debuted. Actually, it was inspired by something that's already in California. They are waffle sandwiches, and they're available at the Sleepy Hollow in Liberty Square. There's a few different variations that are available for these unique sandwiches. There's a breakfast one with prosciutto egg omelet in a waffle, like literally folded into a waffle. For lunch, there's fried chicken with an Asian kick with creamy slaw and peppery arugula. Then there's a fruit and Nutella sandwich with strawberries and chocolate, a ham, salty prosciutto and cheese Sammy, and they're also apparently working on a peanut butter and jelly version. I haven't tried one of these yet. I am up in the air about it. I'll probably give it a shot. I'm not a big waffle fan to begin with, but I do love a good prosciutto. So if the meat that they have in there is a really high quality prosciutto, then I would gladly, even if I don't like the waffle, I'll just pick the meat out of there. Anyway, I'll have to try it next time I'm over at Magic Kingdom. Now, Disney has been cranking out some really unique shirts for fans of the parks, and one of my absolute favorites just showed up this week, and I had to run out and get one for myself. It is a shirt for the TTA, the Tomorrowland Transit Authority, the People Mover. It shows the TTA on this black shirt, and it says, "Paging Mr. Morrow, Mr. Tom Morrow." On the shirt, of course, it doesn't actually say it like that, but it is written on the shirt. And yeah, I had to get one, and they are available. Let's say they're over at Mouse Gear. They're at the World of Disney at Downtown Disney, probably in the Magic Kingdom somewhere. Though I was at the World of Disney just a couple of days ago, and the extra larges were already sold out. I'm sure they're going to get more and more of them in. But it's good to see Disney working on some shirts that appeal directly to fan favorites. Certainly, the TTA is a great way to relax when you get to the Magic Kingdom. It's always a must ride for me, and it's just a fun ride. People Mover. Hopefully they'll bring People Mover back to Disneyland someday, but in the meantime I will enjoy the version at Walt Disney World and of course wearing the t-shirt. Now let's move away from the parks up to the Maryland, Washington, D.C. area where there's actually some canceled plans, and I had honestly even forgotten that these were plans to begin with. The Walt Disney Company was planning to build a 500-room resort hotel at National Harbor, and this week Disney canceled the plans completely. They bought the land more than 2 years ago, had some minor sort of preparation work going on, but it's not happening anymore. So you Disney fans in that area of the country, sorry, no Disney coming your way anytime soon that we know of. Now let's jump overseas, but not to any of the overseas parks, but rather an interesting exhibit that just opened up a couple of days ago on November 25th. In fact, Sven from Belgium gave me the heads up for this unique exhibit for the Snow and Ice Sculpture Festival, which is something that happens yearly in Belgium. Well, this year's theme of the event is Disney, and it features really impressive elaborate ice sculptures for all throughout the parks and through the movies, from just an endless supply of Disney recognizable Disney items, and so of course it's in Belgium, so that makes it difficult for most people to get to. But if you want to find out more, there's a website you can go to, and I have no idea how to pronounce this, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it's IJSSculptur.be is the website, and it's kind of IJS Sculpture or something. Anyway, that's going to be the site for it, and there's some video and photos that you can enjoy on there. Or if you happen to be in Belgium, then you can just swing on by, and you'll see it. And it runs through, by the way, it runs through January 15th. And let's move back out here to Florida, but outside of the world of Disney, a couple of Universal items, or really just one. From here in Florida, January 5th through February 5th is apparently going to be Pass Holder Appreciation Month at the Universal Orlando Resort, giving attendees, or rather annual pass holders, an hour early access to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. In addition, there's going to be a special opportunity to have breakfast at the Three Broomsticks. Reservations are required there, so it's good to see Universal doing something for their pass holders. And then related to Universal, though definitely not here in Florida, Transformers The Ride is coming out very soon. It's actually opening up in just a week at Universal Studios Singapore on December 3rd. And some audio has already shown up from previews for the ride. There are certainly photos online, and then it's going to be making its way to Hollywood next year. No word as to whether it will ever come out here to Orlando, but I'm looking forward to it regardless. So if you want to be spoiled, that's really the point here. Most likely most of you listening or watching this is not going to head out to Singapore anytime soon, but if you want to be spoiled, you can certainly search online and you will find plenty from the attraction. Otherwise, wait till next year, probably around summertime or so, maybe early summer, and you'll be able to check out that attraction. Back to the world of Disney, Weiss Auctions is holding a pretty elaborate auction that's running throughout the month of December. The actual auction will take place in a couple of weeks, and the premier item that is part of this auction is a one-of-a-kind, just really, really rare item. It is the original, or an original 1953 Disneyland prospectus, and that doesn't sound like it may mean too much, but this is kind of one of the most amazing and unique items that has ever come to auction. It's an original document drafted by Walt Disney and artist Herb Ryman, one of three that were supposedly personally produced by Walt and Herb to take to New York in order to find a partner to invest $5 million into this project they were calling Disneyland. Well, they left three of these documents with three bankers in order to raise the money, and this is just one of the most, basically the first bit of Disneyland anything to exist, because this is the proposal in order to get money to build the park. So they're expecting this prospectus to bring in well over $100,000 at auction. You could visit the Weiss Auctions website to see a few photos of what's included in the prospectus, including the really incredible original Disneyland map concept that Herb Ryman had drawn up, and not his original, but a copy of his original. His original, of course, is in the Disney, in the Imagineering Archives, actually, out in California. But this is definitely one of those amazing, unique items, and there are many, many more in the auction, so it's worth checking out. Let's turn to the world of movies now, where I pretty sure I had mentioned this on the show before, but it is coming up pretty soon, so I will mention it again on December 13th. The Rocketeer 20th Anniversary Edition will be coming to Blu-ray for the first time. That is, not the edition, but the Rocketeer movie will be on Blu-ray for the very first time, so if you're a fan of the film or you know somebody who is and you might make a pretty good Christmas present, then December 13th is your date to check that out. And speaking of movies, I posted a new review that I'm actually not going to include here on the podcast because, well, it's kind of 4 older movies that just made their way to Blu-ray 3D. It's Meet the Robinsons, G-Force, Chicken Little, and Bolt, all in 3D now and all on Blu-ray, available for home purchase, and you can find a review of all of those over at InsideTheMagic.net. Continuing with the world of movies on YouTube, Disney has now reached a partnership with Google, who of course is the owners of YouTube, where Disney and Pixar movies are now available for rental, for viewing on YouTube. They're about $2 each, and the titles available for rental includes Pirates of the Caribbean, Alice in Wonderland, Cars, and many more. So all you have to do, I think it's youtube.com/rentals is what you have to go to. And Disney's not the only studio involved in the whole rental gig on YouTube, but they are certainly the most recent and the one that's relevant to this show. So if you want to pull up a movie for just $2, you can do it on YouTube now. And ABC's show Live with Kelly, of course, it's not Regis and Kelly because Regis recently retired from that show. But that show is going to be going to Disney's newest resort, Aulani, in Hawaii, of course, hosted by Kelly Ripa. It's going to be taping there February 20th through 24th of 2012. If you happen to be in the area, you can attend a taping, I'm sure. But there's also running a contest where they're picking a lucky couple, along with 30 guests, to fly out to Hawaii to have an extravagant wedding right there at Aulani. You can find out more information about the show tapings, as well as the contest over at livewithkelly.tv. Last bit of news this week, a bit of business here. Of course, it was terrible news that Steve Jobs recently passed away. And when he did, many Disney fans were wondering what's going to happen to his shares in the Walt Disney Company. Of course, when Disney acquired Pixar, of which Steve Jobs was a co-founder, Jobs became the largest single shareholder of the Walt Disney Company. Well, Jobs' 7.7% stake in the Walt Disney Company has now been, or was transferred on his death to a trust, which then passes on to his wife, Laureen Powell Jobs. She's of course, the widow of Steve Jobs. It was 138 million common shares of Disney, valued at $4.6 billion. And so they are going to be safely in the hands within the Jobs family. And that's it for your news from around the world this week. And this week's tip comes in from James, and it's one I'm sure we've mentioned here on the show in the past, but it's something I take advantage of quite often, so it's worth mentioning again. James writes, my tip for the week would be when arriving by car to the Magic Kingdom. To go to the park, you have to go to the Ticket and Transportation Center first, the TTC, and I have found on busy days there's usually a big line at the Magic Kingdom monorail entrance, so my tip would be to go past that entrance and hop on the resort monorail where the line is much shorter. This monorail still takes you to the Magic Kingdom Park via the Polynesian and the Grand Floridian. However, you have then skipped the long line at the TTC. And James, definitely a great tip. Certainly a great way. The line could definitely get very, very long there for that Magic Kingdom line for the monorail. However, the resort line usually is much, much shorter. You do have to make those extra stops, but it's often worth it just to get over there a little bit faster than if you waited in line the other way. So great tip. Everyone else out there, email your tips into tips@InsideTheMagic.net. And before we get to the main features this week, I actually want to mention that this week's main features on Inside the Magic are brought to you by our newest sponsor, Theme Park Connection. Theme Park Connection is holding a big grand opening this coming weekend, actually on Saturday, December 3rd, right here in the Orlando area, actually in Winter Garden, Florida. They're officially opening their doors to the public, showcasing thousands of Disney and theme park collectibles, props, costumes, signs, trading pins, and much more. Their warehouse has been a hidden secret here in Orlando, where they both buy and sell the rarest theme park items. They've got benches from Toontown, windows from Main Street, Disney Store, statues, and screen-used Pirates of the Caribbean movie props in there. That's just some of the valuables currently in their Disney treasure chest that's opening to you on December 3rd. And if you have Disney items to sell, bring them with you, as their appraisers will be there to make an offer to take them off your hands, leaving you with some extra cash for Christmas. Theme Park Connection's grand opening is being held at their 4,000 square foot warehouse from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on December 3rd. It's located again in Winter Garden, Florida, just 15 minutes north of the Magic Kingdom. And as part of that celebration, all attendees can enjoy a free cookout with hamburgers, hot dogs, and drinks, plus get a free gift for everybody who shows up. And you will get 20% off anything in the store, a one-time special opening day offer. It is definitely the best time to buy, as Theme Park Connection will also be donating 10% of all sales for that day to Toys for Tots, along with some toys from the store. So bring your appetite, your wallet, and your Disney items to sell at Theme Park Connection this coming Saturday, December 3rd. For more information and directions and to visit their online store, simply head on over to themeparkconnection.com. And with that said, let's jump into our first of two main features this week. And of course, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we are past Thanksgiving now, which means we're moving into the Christmas season, where we're going to be playing our first Christmas music of the year with the Christmas music in the background right now, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more Christmas fun in the coming weeks, live entertainment from the parks, etc., etc. But I wanted to start it all off with what is on everybody's minds right now, which of course, coming out of Thanksgiving, went right into Black Friday. And this weekend is one of the biggest shopping times of the entire year, and of course a time for everybody to start thinking about the holiday coming up and what you're going to be getting for your favorite people for Christmas this year. So I thought I would put together, and this is something I've mentioned here on the show in the past recent weeks, that I said I would do a bit of a Christmas shopping list, Disney edition. This is your chance to get some ideas for maybe what you either want to ask for Christmas as a Disney fan, or perhaps what you want to give to a Disney fan, who sometimes are notoriously hard to buy for, since many Disney fans have just about everything in the world of Disney. But these are some of the newer items, really. I tried to pick out things for 2011 that perhaps Disney fans don't already have. already have. All right, so without further ado, let's jump right into it. Of course, The Muppets, the most recent movie that has hit theaters for Disney, doing very, very well at the box office. Hugely successful, highly praised. I certainly liked it. Talked about it here on last week of the show. And one of the main characters is a new Muppet called Walter. And Walter is available for the first time as a plush over at the Disney Store online. It's a 18-inch tall plush for $16.50, and something that I have put on my own Christmas list. So a good gift there for any fans of the new movie. Of course, fans of the new movie might also want the soundtrack of the excellent new songs that are in the film. That's only about $5 to $7 online in MP3 format. Amazon had it at $5 for a while. Now it's up to $7, and I wouldn't be surprised if it went back down to $5 soon. Of course, you can get a CD version of the soundtrack as well. For bigger Muppet fans, there's something that I think I've mentioned here on the show before, a Muppet Whatnot kit. And that kit is available at Toys R Us for about $60. Online, I've seen it as high as $100, which is a little much because you can get it at $60 at Toys R Us. This is from FAO Schwartz. It basically enables you to build your own Muppet from a variety of mix and match parts. Continuing with sort of the Muppet theme here, another great item that's new for this year. If you're a fan of Jim Henson creations from the past, there, of course, is Fraggle Rock. And new this year, a couple of plushes from Fraggle Rock that are not necessarily the regular Fraggles that you see as the main characters of the show, but Uncle Traveling Matt is now available as a plush, as is the dog Sprocket. Definitely a favorite character from that show. There's a few other new ones also, so you can search for those online. I don't have a specific link to give you or to tell you where to get those, but certainly a number of stores online. You'll be able to pick those up if you're interested, and those have definitely made it onto my own personal Christmas list as well. Earlier this week in the show, I mentioned The Rocketeer, a favorite of many Disney fans, an old live-action film from Disney that really hasn't gotten as much attention as it probably should. It is a really good movie, and that film is about $19. And it'll be on Blu-ray, as I said, for the anniversary edition. Of course, another recent film that was released was Winnie the Pooh, which I really enjoyed over the summer, and it is now available on Blu-ray and DVD and all of that as well, all over the place in local stores, on Amazon, etc., etc. So another good one to buy for any Disney fans that don't have them. A great related music album that came out fairly recently. I think it was earlier this year. It may have even been last year. It is the Sherman Brothers Songbook. Now, this album just has an amazing collection of Sherman Brothers hits over many years. It is just, it has Winnie the Pooh, of course, which is what made me think of it here, but I'm just grabbing my copy. It's actually here right on the desk next to me, and let's see, it has 27 tracks on disc 2, 32 tracks on disc 1, for a total of whatever those two numbers added together is 59 tracks completely, all the way back to the Parent Trap and Flubber song and The Wonderful World of Color, and all the way up to, just everything in between. The Aristocats, and the list goes on and on. Tiki Room, Small World, Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow. These are all Sherman Brothers hits, and they're all on one album. Definitely a great one to own for any Disney fan. Moving into the world of video games. Of course, recently here on the show, I talked about Kinect Disneyland Adventures, and that is available for Xbox 360 with the Kinect system. You do have to have all of that, but for anyone who wants to walk around Disneyland virtually whenever you want, it is a great game to get there. That's about $50. A little bit cheaper than that is Disney Universe, which I reviewed here on the show as well, and another fun Christmas option for multiplayer. Actually, a whole family could get in and really enjoy playing Disney Universe together, and that one, on Black Friday sales, I saw it as low as $27 or $29. Of course, Black Friday is over, so you might be up to about $40 for that now. Another really inexpensive game that's a bit older, and some Disney fans may already have it, but many may not. For Nintendo Wii is the home version of Toy Story Mania, the hugely popular attraction from Disney's Hollywood Studios, as well as Disney California Adventure, and recently I saw that online for as low as $10. It seems to be around $20 normally, definitely a lot less expensive than most video games, and it is, it's not perfect, it's not a perfect game, it's certainly not a perfect recreation of what you experience while being in the theme park, but it is a good way to have some more theme park at home. So let's see, some more suggestions for Christmas for a Disney fan in the world of books. How about Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse Collector's Box Set, Volume 1 and 2, packaged together, available on Amazon for about $30. This is a collection of old Mickey Mouse comic books, came out this year in 2011. Honestly, I had never even heard of this collection until I started hunting around for some Christmas ideas, and so it's likely that Disney fans may not have heard of it either. Another suggestion that I remember was sent in by a listener, and when I asked on Facebook, somebody else also mentioned this book called The Vault of Walt. I believe it's written by Jim Korkis, noted Disney historian, and this book enables you to really explore some other sides of Walt Disney history. Along the same lines, a bit of an older book that I think is a must-own for anybody who doesn't already have it. I certainly have had a copy for many years now. It's called Designing Disney, Imagineering and the Art of the Show. It's by John Hench, who unfortunately, of course, passed away a few years ago. Legendary Imagineer, worked on so many concepts over the years, and this book is now available in paperback for only about $13 or $14, and if you don't own this, it definitely needs to make its way onto your Christmas list. A really, really great book. Moving on to the world of toys, I really only have one Disney toy on my Christmas list this year, and that is the Lego Black Pearl from the Pirates of the Caribbean. It's about $100, just about anywhere you look. I've seen it a little more than $100, but I've definitely seen it as low as $100, and this seems to be one of the coolest Lego building kits that have come out in a while. The big black sails, and of course little pirate minifigs, etc., etc. So a really fun kit to put together, even if $100 is a bit expensive, though that's how Lego kits generally run. Another game we talked about recently here on the show is the Disney, the Trivial Pursuit Ultimate Disney Edition, the Disney For All Edition. The goal of this is to be able to share the fun of a Disney trivia game with everybody, so that one person who is the Disney expert of the group doesn't completely dominate the game. The goal is to bring everybody together sort of on an even playing field in a number of ways, which I think is a good idea. That's about $16 online. Then for girls, there are certainly a few options available out there. The Disney bags from Dooney and Burke are very, very popular. They're also a bit expensive, a couple of $100 each, but you know, that's how the handbag thing goes. Those are available on Disney Store. They sell them in the parks, and I'm sure they are available elsewhere as well. And, you know, it's not one of my things, Disney bags, but certainly something that a lot of women have been clamoring over. Likewise, there are some new shirts for women from artist Noah that are the Vault 28 Villains collection, about $38 for each shirt. So they're a little pricey, but they are elaborately designed fashion tees, as they call it, with Disney villains like Maleficent, Cruella de Vil, Ursula, and the Evil Queen from Snow White. In addition, this artwork is available separately as Giclée images, which of course cost a whole lot more than even these fashion t-shirts, but Noah has done a good job kind of capturing the spirit of these villains in a unique way. A really fun hoodie has shown up recently on Disney Store as well as around the parks. It is a Buzz Lightyear hoodie for adults. Basically, it's one of those hoodies that turns you it's almost like a costume hoodie. It turns you into Buzz Lightyear essentially while you're wearing it. It's $60, which is actually not that bad of a price for a hoodie. Usually a decent hoodie is about $35, $40, and this one adds the Buzz Lightyear theme to it. Of course, there's also a fleece kids version available as well. And then for those of you like me who are still missing Halloween, I found a really nice Halloween shirt over at Disney Store that has made its way onto my Christmas list as well. It's a Mickey Mouse as Frankenstein kind of old B-movie style poster sort of t-shirt, and it's one that I had never seen before. It's only about $10 on the Disney Store website, so a fun little treat there. And then, of course, when all else fails, if you have no idea what to ask for, even with this whole list, and you have no idea what to buy, the best thing in the world of Disney is always the Disney gift card. You can put any amount on there. And if you go over to DisneyStore.com, there's actually a number of designs. There's got to be over 50 different Disney gift card designs that you can put on there. There's a couple of fun-looking Tron ones that I have my eye on. I don't really care if there's any money on them. I just want the cards. But of course, money is always good, too. So there you go. A few of my picks are really all of my picks for a Disney Christmas. I'm sure there are many, 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 many more options that you could possibly put on a list, but those are some of the newest and most fun that I was able to put together. Of course, that entire list is over at InsideTheMagic.net as well. And you can click through, and if you're going to be, as I've said earlier, if you're going to be doing shopping for any of that, certainly you can click through the website, or just go to InsideTheMagic.net/Amazon if you're going to be buying anything on Amazon this Christmas season to support this show. So hopefully that gave you some good ideas for this Christmas, and I'd love to hear it. If you have some more ideas as well, please feel free to shoot me an email, and maybe we'll share a part 2 of a Christmas list if I get enough suggestions in the coming weeks. Now we're going going to move into main feature number 2, and this is what's going to take up the bulk of the rest of the show because I've got a really big topic to talk about here. Just a couple of weekends ago, I had my first ever trip out to San Francisco. And really the goal of going out there was for some vacation time, just to go somewhere I had never been before. But, of course, one of the main draws for me as a Disney fan and for any Disney fan was to visit the Walt Disney Family Museum, something I've been wanting to visit for a number of years now since it opened. Now, if you don't know, basically what I want to do here is I want to talk about the museum, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody. I didn't know exactly what was in the Walt Disney Family Museum before going there, and I really wanted to be surprised about all of the exhibits that are contained or within this really impressive museum that, and so I don't want to spoil that for anybody either. But what I do want to do is kind of run through it on a sort of overview sort of way and talk about just really what I thought personally were my favorite parts of the exhibits within the museum. There is so much to look at. I mean, you can literally spend an entire day there, which is what I did, from almost opening to the very, very end of the day, and you still will not see everything within this museum because there's so many little tiny details just put right next to each other. I would probably spend several visits there, and it just wouldn't still see every little thing there is. So taking a step back here, of course, it is in San Francisco, which of course is in California. More specifically, it's in the northwest part of San Francisco in an area called the Presidio. It's near the Golden Gate Bridge, and basically the Presidio, it's an old sort of army base, site of Spanish, Mexican, and American armies years ago. Since then, it's been transformed into restaurants and a bit of housing and places like the Walt Disney Family Museum. So from the outside, it doesn't scream Disney, but it really is an excellent spot for it's almost hiding this museum to where you can go and enjoy it without being overwhelmed by theme parkiness of somewhere like Orlando or Anaheim. You might wonder, why is the Walt Disney Family Museum located in San Francisco versus one of these more touristy theme parky areas? Well, the goal in creating this museum for Diane Disney Miller, who was the daughter of Walt Disney, who was really instrumental in the creation of this museum, is because it's focusing on Walt Disney, the person, and his family. That is really, really the focus of this museum and its 10 galleries within. It of course talks about movies and television and theme parks and all of that, but it doesn't focus solely on those as it would if it was in Orlando or Anaheim or an area like that. So the goal is to get to know Disney, the real person, Walt Disney, not just Disney, the corporation, and it certainly succeeds in that. I had a wonderful time while walking through. I mean, from the moment you step inside, just in the lobby, you kind of get a sense for what type of a museum this is, because the welcome sign telling you what you're about to encounter has this really casual, wonderful picture of Walt Disney, kind of this life-size, standy, cutout version of Walt Disney, just kind of leaning over and smiling at you, and really, really casual. And that's what the whole museum really is like. It kind of is taking you into the family lifestyle of Walt Disney and how he lived when he was around. Just from the moment you step in the lobby. Actually, I should mention here, by the way, that one of the nice things about the museum actually is that photography, while permitted in the lobby and the small exhibits that are in the lobby, is not permitted in the exhibits themselves, which means you're not going to be walking through taking a picture of everything. You're not going to encounter people firing off flashes every 2 feet. Really, there is no photography, video, or recording allowed inside, which is nice to be able to just kind of take a step back and enjoy it all without with all of that. With that said, I have been supplied with a number of images from within, so if you're watching the video version of this show, or I'm going to be posting an article about the museum on the website pretty soon, then you'll be able to see a bit of what is inside. So anyway, back to where I was, moving into the lobby. It's really simple kind of museum entry, very nice inside, and you really get the sense of Disney all around you with, as I was saying, those kind of life-size black and white standees from around the, just getting you kind of one-on-one, face-to-face with Walt Disney, the man. There is a very large store there as well where you can certainly purchase plenty. Anyway, moving on, really Disney and his family, as I have said, is the focus of this museum. As you step into the first gallery, you'll see throughout the entire museum photographs, artifacts, home movies. It's just all incredibly detailed look at what what life was like from the moment Disney was born, even dating back to a little bit before Disney was born in the late 1800s. Of course, Disney was born. Walt Disney was born in 1901, and really just following his life all the way through. So the first gallery that you step into is really going to be the Walt Disney's birth. Of course, that's where it all starts. And in this gallery, it's kind of the early days of Walt Disney's life. Some of my favorite items from within this time period in this gallery number one are some drawings that Walt Disney made in his youth, showing how early in his life he was interested in the world of what would become animation and cartooning, and what ultimately would become Mickey Mouse and everything thereafter. Which of course leads you into number two, a gallery where Disney made his trip out to Hollywood, and that is where Mickey and Steamboat Willie and, of course, Oswald and the Alice shorts and all of that came around in Laugh-O-Gram Films, Disney's first company where Oswald was created. And it's just a nice sort of introduction to moving slowly from the early days of Disney, where he was simply in his hometown in Marceline, into his jump to Hollywood, where it was a big jump for him and certainly a big jump for everybody in the museum as well. You go from a first really, really simple room into this second room that's got the Hollywood sign, which is one of my favorite elements from this gallery, kind of lit up in video of the Alice shorts and Walt Disney. And just along the way, you see little handwritten notes from Walt Disney, or you'll see a photograph of him and his parents, or you'll see items like that are really personal to his life. Rather than looking at it from a Disney company history, you're looking at it from the perspective of how Disney, the man, Walt Disney, the man, went about approaching this trip from his, small town, Main Street, USA style early childhood into this now Hollywood in an effort to really create this what would ultimately become the Walt Disney Company and dominating in the world of animation, how simply it all began. Another thing to really point out that is a lot of fun along the way while you're walking through at your own pace completely. You can spend as much or as little time in every area in the museum. While you're walking through, there are a lot of handsets you can pick up and hear actual first-hand reports from people who were there, people who knew Walt Disney, and even some of Walt Disney's own words himself when available. You just pick up these little phones and listen, and it just tells you an endless supply of stories. You could spend all day just listening to these listening stations and hearing the stories firsthand of those who were there during each of these time periods. Another really good eye-catcher in this exhibit is this wall of storyboards, which is something that Disney almost invented, was the idea of storyboarding, sort of getting a notion of what animation would be before going through the whole production of animation, and this is a great exhibit of sort of animated storyboards along a wall. Moving on into this exhibit, this is Gallery 2/Gallery 3, where you really see the early days of Mickey Mouse and, of course, Steamboat Willie. And this is, again, going back to my favorites. I can't possibly mention everything that was in the Walt Disney Family Museum, but one of my favorite items in the museum, and this is certainly one of the favorite items of any Disney fan that's going to be there, is the earliest known drawing of Mickey Mouse. And it's sort of this drawing of Mickey in a few different forms, where they ultimately basically circled one and allowed it to, or ultimately made it the Mickey Mouse. And you see sort of him wearing some various different outfits that possibly could have been becoming the iconic Mickey Mouse, but ultimately the recognizable one with his little shorts and black skin tone and all of that is the one that became, and definitely one that you just want to stand there and stare at for quite a while. Nearby, there's a lot of Mickey-related merchandising And here's where also you find out something that somehow I didn't even know. I knew Disney had a couple of daughters, but I didn't realize that daughter Sharon from Walt and Lillian, daughter Sharon Disney, was adopted. It was one of the little facts that I learned at the Walt Disney Family Museum that I had no idea about. And there were plenty of these facts as you walk through. Even if you're the biggest Disney fan in the world, you'll find lots of facts that you just didn't know from Disney history like that. Moving on to gallery number 4 is where everything really starts to come alive in the world of animation. It's where feature animation starts to take shape, and we're talking about silly symphonies and the beginnings of what would become Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Of course, the first full-length motion picture to hit the big screen in the world of animation, and this gallery just shows every step along the way what it took to create this milestone in film history, and what it was from the perspective of Disney, and what it meant for him to have this passion behind animation in order to create what certainly has gone down in history as an incredible achievement. Moving on from there, of course, animation took off. Snow White was certainly a success, and the development of the multiplane camera allowed for much more elaborate visuals in the future, and they have a very large multiplane camera that you can look down, another favorite site of mine throughout the museum. You can see sites from tests using the multiplane camera for the old Silly Symphony, the Old Mill, which then ultimately inspired the use of it, or got them ready to use it in the films from there. And moving on down the line, Pinocchio, Fantasia, Bambi, etc., etc. And they certainly showcase how Disney, every step of the way, was able to use all of these advancements in technology, really pioneer these advancements in technology in order to do more of what he would dream possible in the future. And then there's a nice little viewing area where you can see some Fantasia clips and really see how all of the world of animation shaped up and moved on as Disney saw it moving further and further. And then everything kind of takes a turn for a bit of Disney history that you don't often hear about when it comes to the theme parks. You start to see the other side of Disney that was certainly a huge burden on Walt Disney the man. He was involved around World War II era with issues of communism, the propaganda for World War II and promoting the United States. Disney, the company, produced a number of posters and war-related films to help the war effort. And in addition, Disney was also very much bogged down by protests there at his own studio. And all of this is combined into one gallery that really gives you a sense of the part of, as I said, the part of Disney history you don't normally think about when you think of the happiness and Snow White and Pinocchio and, Disneyland and all of that. But thinking about these other parts certainly was a huge part of Walt Disney, the man's life. He had to deal with the very real-life issues along the way, even backtracking over to the Laugh-O-Gram Studios and him ultimately losing control over his character Oswald the Lucky Rabbit and the battles that went on there. I mean, you hear about it, Oswald went away, so he developed Mickey Mouse, and it's a happy ending because Mickey Mouse became so iconic. But what you don't really get a sense until you visit this museum is how many struggles Disney went through in order to initially try to hold on to Oswald, and dealing with bankers and lawyers and people at different studios that he ultimately lost the rights to Oswald to. And you hear all of the stories and you read the original letters back and forth, of course, telegrams, and all of that sort of in history you sort of lose sight about the harder parts of what Disney was involved in. And in the chat room, Pablo's asking about Disney being involved in the McCarthy hearings, and yes, absolutely, that is included in this gallery in the museum. It was a huge part of Disney's life, talking about communism and all of that possibly leaking into his studio, and it is not a huge focus in the museum, but no one element is, because Disney did so many things in the decades that he was alive. You'll find every small aspect of every controversy and everything good as well. They really wanted to showcase what Walt Disney did with his family as well, really throughout his entire life, not just focusing on the usual Disney company sort of, PR line. Fortunately, moving on from the World War II era, it moved into one of the most amazing eras of Walt Disney history, really for the company and for his own personal achievements in the world of movies, moving beyond animation as well as into the live-action era. You enter this really incredible room. This is one of my favorite rooms of the entire museum, with these wraparound video projection screens just kind of showing endless looping clips of songs and scenes from movies over decades of Disney history. And there's fortunately benches in the middle of this room where you can sit down and just enjoy all of these clips that are around you. And then in the corners of the rooms, you'll find interactive elements where you can sit there. I mean, you could literally stand there all day at these interactive areas, and it will just let you pick a movie, and then you can explore more about that movie. You can look at the voice actors and the storyboards and the animation and the live actors and just everything that went into the creation. It's almost like DVD extras, but for the entire history of every Disney movie ever made. It's just, you could stand there for hours and hours. I was there for only about 10 minutes because I knew I had to move on, and I only saw a small, tiny portion of the Alice in Wonderland section of this endless list of things. Definitely a really amazing interactive exhibit that just has to be seen in person. Worthy of note here, again, we're talking about how this museum showcases parts of Disney history that were a big part of Walt Disney's life, but parts that perhaps the Walt Disney Company of today wants to stay away from. In particular, in this movie area, you will definitely find Song of the South. There are clips from Song of the South played on the movie that's wrapping around the room. You'll find Song of the South extras in the interactive feature. They are not shying away from Song of the South in the way that the Walt Disney Company today most certainly does. There are no plans to release or re-release Song of the South, make it available on DVD or Blu-ray or anything like that. The topic comes up annually at the shareholders meeting, and for the past several years, Bob Iger has been shooting down the idea completely, saying it's just not going to happen. And yet the Walt Disney Family Museum does embrace this as a part of Disney history and as part of Walt Disney history. And in so much as, here's a note that I didn't even know until reading this there. James Baskett, who played Uncle Remus in Song of the South, apparently won an honorary Academy Award for it. So you would think Disney would be able to, Disney, the company, would be able to embrace that, but instead they completely shy away from this film due to its, racial issues, but it is a part of history, and so it is in this museum, which is nice to see it there. Then moving on from there is where the museum really takes a turn for something completely unexpected, and definitely one of my favorite elements of the entire experience. You almost go outside, and I say almost because you kind of turn this corner and you go from this dark movie area into this very bright area that's showcasing nature. And that's because this is when Walt Disney decided to move beyond live-action storytelling, move beyond animation, and into the world of nature and his true life adventures. And in here, it's really showcasing those true life adventures in a way that only this museum at this location could, because there's this amazing view of the Golden Gate Bridge and just the bay, and you just look out these huge plate glass windows into this incredible view that really brings the world of nature into the museum, while also showing you a few artifacts and video sequences as well. It's definitely an unexpected turn that is most certainly one of my favorite parts of the museum, and it leads very well into the culmination of everything that taking the real world and combining it with the animated world in, of course, what would become Disneyland. And the beginnings of that are when you move into this second to last gallery, gallery number 9. And this is the one where theme park fans are just going to spend forever looking at every single little tiny thing in this theme park area, beginning with probably my favorite site of the entire museum. And I know it's a favorite of many Disney fans who have been there, and that is Walt's original train. This is the Lily Bell train that Disney built for his Hollywood home. It's the one that you see video and pictures of Walt Disney himself riding on around the backyard of his home, and it is there on display for you to walk just past every single car, reading about it along the way, and reading about Walt's fascination with trains and how that moved on into his desire to create Main Street and Disneyland and the whole theme park. And it is just an incredible sight that to know that just a few feet from you while you're standing there, Walt Disney was once sitting on that train that is right there in front of you, having a grand old time with his family and his friends in his backyard, just riding around. And it's just it's something that needs to be seen in person for any Disney fan. Then, if that wasn't enough, continuing around a winding path further into the museum, you wind it through step by step, reading these little sort of plaques leading up to what was the ultimate creation, ultimately creating Disneyland. And the Walt Disney Family Museum has represented Disneyland, the theme park, in a really unique way. There is a 12-foot diameter model of Disneyland, but it's, as they call it, it's Disneyland of Walt's imagination. So all of the lands and the attractions that are in this model are not necessarily the ones that were all in the park at the same time. In fact, they wanted to sort of combine elements of things that never were, things that were there and are now gone, and just really kind of put it all together in this unique model that's animated and it lights up, and you can just walk around it in a circle and get up close and look at every tiny element in this huge model of the park that never was, that never will be, but you get a sense for all of the concepts and the ideas that have been were going into the park, or were possibly going to go into the park while Walt Disney was around. Of course, many things have shown up since Walt Disney's death. Of course, there's Walt Disney World and parks around the world, but this is focusing on the original Disneyland, the one that Walt actually saw open and walked through, and all of the ideas that he personally had a hand in while walking around in there. It's quite an impressive sight, and certainly one that theme park fans will stand and in awe at, looking at every little tiny detail for quite a long time. Around the corner from that, it talks a lot about Disney's move into television with the Mickey Mouse Club and the Parent Trap, moving on into more movies and Mary Poppins and very successful films near the end of Walt Disney's time around. And of course, then the whole museum concludes with, what everybody could see coming, but nobody wants to think about, and of course that is the passing of Walt Disney on December 15th, 1966. It's a very abrupt turn in the museum itself, and it was basically to represent real life, how nobody would expect Walt Disney to disappear from this planet so quickly. You would expect somebody like Walt Disney, the visionary that he was, to be around forever and just keep bringing joy to everybody, but all of a sudden it moves from all of this excitement into, Walt was in the hospital and then he passed away, and the sadness that came around that, presented very simply in one of the most poignant tiny exhibits in the whole museum, with news reports and and cartoons and personal notes and remembrances of Walt, and in the end just some video screens in an all-white room, really highlighting all that was Walt Disney's life. And it was, again, all put together, or largely put together, by Walt Disney's own family. Of course, Diane Disney Miller, Walt's daughter, instrumental in the creation of this. She shared a number of items from her own personal history, her photo albums and home videos, or home movies, rather. They were, of course, shot on film years ago, and it's all packed into this in only such a way that a member of the Disney family could possibly put together. And it's her way of sharing all of that with fans of Disney in such a way that show that there is something more than the Walt Disney Company. You go to Disneyland or you go to the Magic Kingdom, you see the partner statue and you see Walt Disney standing there, and that, he sort of at that point is representing Disney, the company. He's the man who created all of that, and you sort of get a sense for that for the average guest visiting Disneyland. But really visiting this museum is where you get a chance to almost get to know Walt Disney as a person and what his family life was like. And it is just a really excellent experience. You know, I've got to go back sometime because I probably only saw half, if that, of what everything was there. I was there for something like 7 hours, and I tried to listen to as much as I could. I tried to read as much as I could. I tried to watch as much as I could, and just what I just talked about now was only a very tiny percentage of everything that you can find in this Walt Disney Family Museum. So a really, really enjoyable experience in San Francisco, something I highly, highly recommend for anybody, any Disney fan who is going to be in that area. And of course, while we're talking about San Francisco here, I do want to mention a few other items that I did while I was out there that would be of interest. Of course, you're probably not going to travel all the way to San Francisco just to attend the Walt Disney Family Museum, though that is definitely a great reason to do it. And I should mention before I get into other things that just the best way to find out more about Walt Disney Family Museum, about tickets to get in, and hours, and also the special events, is just go to their website. It's actually hosted on Disney's website with a very long web address at disney.go.com/Disney/A/Z/Family Museum is the official website for it. But if you just search Google for Walt Disney Family Museum, you will definitely find it and read all about how you can how you can go there. So as I was saying, while you're at San Francisco, there are many other Disney-related and even a couple of non-Disney-related activities that I would personally recommend, having just gone there. And I'd like to run through just a few of those to give you an idea of some more things to do while you're in the city. While you're right there in the Presidio visiting the museum, at some point during the day, you're probably going to want to take a break from the museum and go get some lunch. I had it right there in the Presidio, just down the road at what's called the Presidio Social Club. It's one of many different restaurants that are within the whole Presidio complex, and my lunch was fantastic. Michelle and I were there, and we both thoroughly enjoyed what we ate there. Service was but the food was really spectacular, so I would recommend a visit to there if you're looking for somewhere good to eat, although I'm sure all the restaurants in there are good. Besides food, also, this was a surprise to me that I didn't know until I got there, and actually somebody at the restaurant told me within the Presidio is actually the headquarters of Lucasfilm, LucasArts, and Industrial Light and Magic. Of course, all of George Lucas's company is the creation of Star Wars and effects for all of Hollywood and video games, and just an amazing amount of media over the years. And of course, there's a Disney connection there because of Star Tours and Star Wars weekends and all the Jedi Training Academy and all of that. Now, Lucasfilm, LucasArts, and Industrial Light and Magic are not open to the public. You can't book a tour, but what you can do is walk around the outside of their campus. You'll probably run into some employees there. There's like a Starbucks you can go to, but most importantly, there is an iconic Yoda fountain right there that is open to the public. You can go, you can get a picture with it, you can get a picture of it, and see it right outside the entrance. So that's definitely worth going to look at while you're there for the Walt Disney Family Museum, because it literally is just down the road from the museum. Not too much further, you can actually see it from the museum. Maybe a 10-minute drive at the most from the museum is another structure that has a Disney connection that is part of San Francisco. It is the Palace of Fine Arts. And this structure is, there's a concert hall there and all that, but really what you're going to want to focus on is the big dome that's just unmissable, and that's because it was recreated on a smaller scale at Disney California Adventure. You'll recognize it as the former entrance to the Golden Dreams show, and now it's the entrance to the Little Mermaid dark ride at California Adventure, and it's kind of weird being there at the real one, the huge one, and the amount of detail in this thing is unbelievable. Definitely worth a quick visit. Of course, talking about California Adventure, something that's coming to California Adventure very soon on Buena Vista Street is going to be the red cars, and you wouldn't want to go to San Francisco without hopping aboard a streetcar or a cable car. If you want to call it research for California Adventure, go ahead. I just found it to be kind of fun. They're running all up and down and around, and certainly near the Golden Gate Bridge and the Family Museum and all of that, so you won't have a problem hopping on. It's just a few bucks to ride, and it's certainly worth it. Even if you don't really plan on going anywhere with it, just go and then come right back, and you'll have a good time riding on these old-time cars through the streets of San Francisco. Here's another one that's a very loose Disney connection, but I think Disney fans would really enjoy, something called the Musée Mécanique. which is actually sort of a penny arcade of sorts. It's really old, vintage, coin-operated video games and other little displays, almost little animatronics. You put in a quarter, and an animatronic guy will drink a glass of water, or it'll make a whole carnival come to life, or it has a little execution scene, or a little, wind will blow some curtains, or things like that. And then there's pinball machines and 80s arcade games, and just a whole lot of a huge space that it's free to go in, and then you only pay a couple of quarters to play each of the games. That's located in the Fisherman's Wharf area of San Francisco, not too far from the Walt Disney Family Museum as well. And what I just found out when I posted a picture of this on Facebook yesterday is that actually Inside the Magic listener, her dad is the owner of the collection of these games. It's called the Zielinski Collection, which is pretty awesome. So there's an Inside the Magic connection there, that if you go and you visit this Musée Mécanique, then you know that in that family, the family that owns this collection also listens to Inside the Magic. So Miriam, thanks for letting me know about that. And not too far from there, of course, if you've been to downtown Disney, you're familiar with Ghirardelli Ice Cream, where you can visit the original shop for that, the Ghirardelli over in San Francisco. Again, it's sort of Fisherman's Wharf, Pier 39 sort of area. All in all, maybe a car would be smart to get around to all of these, but you could possibly ride the streetcars or just walk around. Parking is very, very expensive around. But anyway, I'm getting off topic there. It is certainly Disney related in that you will certainly recognize the iconic sign for Ghirardelli, and then once you're inside, it looks very, very similar to what you're familiar with for downtown Disney. Moving on from there, if you want to drive a bit further, about an hour away, which is something that we did, over to San Jose, you could visit the Winchester Mystery House, where we spent about a half a day there. And this house was actually one of the mansions that Imagineers years and years ago visited in order to seek inspiration for the Haunted Mansion. So of course we had to go visit that. It's actually 160 room huge estate. That's just one of the most bizarre places you will ever go to, because it really doesn't make any sense. The rooms just wind in and out of each other. You'll almost get lost while walking through. And there's definitely a few rooms that have some strong Haunted Mansion type connections. One room in particular was pointed out as a possible inspiration for the ballroom in the Haunted Mansion. Now, I'm not sure if that's true or not. I haven't read anything specifically to the case, but there are definitely some similarities inside this Winchester Family Museum to the Haunted Mansion. It is certainly worth a visit for that, and I'll definitely be posting much more about that place over at InsideTheMagic.net very soon. One final loosely Disney connected option that you could visit while you're over there in San Jose for the Winchester Mystery House. Literally down the street from that is the headquarters, the campus for Apple. Of course, Apple Computer, Apple iPads and iPhones and all of that kind of thing. And as I was saying earlier, Steve Jobs was the largest single shareholder of Disney before his passing. Now it's in his family. Of course, there's the Pixar connection there, and it's just kind of something fun to visit, get a picture with the sign outside, visit the company store, etc., etc. So a few Disney-related options to visit while you're out there for the Walt Disney Family Museum. Of course, I did a couple other things while I was there as well that aren't any remotely Disney related as far as I can tell. I visited Alcatraz, which is something that every San Francisco tourist has got to do at some point or another. It was fun. I can't think of a single Disney connection to it, but it was still fun to do. Nearby, there's also the really excellent Ferry Building Market, which if you're a fan of eating around the parks, you will definitely enjoy a visit there. Just a wide variety of all kinds of food that you can enjoy. Somewhere I would definitely like to go back to someday. So that's kind of my San Francisco trip in a nutshell. Obviously, the focus on the Walt Disney Family Museum, which is a wonderful place to visit, something that every Disney fan needs to make a trip out there. I mean, I really can't emphasize it enough. It was one of those things that I heard about. I was like, yeah, I'll go out there someday. But then Michelle decided that it was time. That perhaps we should go out to San Francisco. I was like, okay, let's have a quick vacation. And then I just absolutely loved going to the museum. It was absolutely worth the trip, and then everything else that I just mentioned was a lot of fun too. And it's a kind of a unique, different sort of trip than going to a theme park all the time. So maybe next time you're planning a trip to go to Disneyland, you should skew off a bit, go to a different part of California, take a few different sites in, and then maybe go to Disneyland after that. It's not exactly close. San Francisco's not in the same part of California as Anaheim, but you'd have to hop another plane or take a very long drive. But yeah, no, it's certainly a great visit. So check back in the coming days/weeks for more from the Walt Disney Family Museum and all over San Francisco that I'll be posting to InsideTheMagic.net.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky. Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Ricky, this is amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Inside the Magic listener feedback.
And now let's jump into some listener feedback to round out this week's show. First up, an email from Stephanie, who writes, "My family and I are going to be at Disneyland at the end of the year. We are flying in early on December 31st and are leaving on the evening of January 3rd. I'm familiar with how busy the parks at Walt Disney World are that time of year, but not so much how it looks for Disneyland for New Year's. We're buying 3 days of tickets, and we are split on which days we should get them for, 31st, 1st, and 2nd, or 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Will it make a difference if we wait to attend the parks until the 1st? Also, can you explain how getting to see World of Color works? I've heard something about having to get fast passes. I'm just so used to showing up and seeing the show, I'm not sure how to make sure we get a spot." Well, Stephanie, definitely a fun time to go to the parks, but yes, it will most certainly be crowded at Disneyland, just like it is out here in Florida for New Year's. To answer your question about the 31st versus waiting a little bit, I do recommend, if you don't want to spend actual New Year's night in the parks, then don't. It's going to be very, very crowded. And looking at the calendar, it looks like December 31st is a Saturday, January 1st is a Sunday, which likely means that people who are going to celebrate, a lot of locals are going to be coming out to celebrate at Disneyland for that weekend. But then come Monday the 2nd, it's going to be work day again. It's back to work because generally the day, New Year's Day is a day off, the Sunday, the 1st, but then that's falling on a Sunday. So the 2nd and 3rd, I would imagine, is going to be a lot less crowded than over the weekend. With that said, it's pretty much crowded every day now at Disneyland. The locals are always at Disneyland, particularly toward the end of the day. So, I would not expect it to really ease off too much on the 2nd and 3rd, but I would say you'll see a noticeable drop-off in crowd levels after the New Year's weekend ends. So, yes, I do think it would make a little bit of a difference if you wait and do 1st, 2nd, and 3rd versus 31st, 1st, and 2nd. So that would be my own personal recommendation. Of course, there is the 31st festivities to enjoy. So it just depends on whether you want to see those or not. As far as World of Color, the Fast Pass situation is very confusing. The Fast Passes are distributed over at the Grizzly River Run area, and basically they give them out in the order that they perform the show. So let's say there's 3 World of Color showings in a night. They'll start giving out the fast passes for the first one first. Then when those run out, they'll move on to the second one and then move on to the third one. And then they go section by section. So when you get a fast pass, you have no idea what you're going to be getting. You don't know which time. You don't know which section. You basically hand over your ticket. They give you a pass and they say you're going to be at the 8 o'clock show in the yellow section or the red section or the blue section. And at that point, you come back about half an hour before your time, and they'll guide you in and they'll lead you into the section that you're assigned for, and that's really how it goes. Of course, you can ask around. You can ask the cast member beforehand which showing for the night you'll be getting it in. If you don't want to go to that showing, you could wait an hour or 2 hours, 3 hours, or however long you guesstimate it's going to take for those passes to go away and go to a later one. But it is quite a messy fast pass system. But that's really the way to do it. The only alternative to all of that would be to buy one of the dinner/snack packages where you can have a meal and then get your reserved area with that. And it's actually a better area than you would get with the Fast Pass system. So those are your options for World of Color. Good luck with your holiday travels to Disneyland. Next up, here's a voice message from Mark.
Hi, Ricky. My name's Mark. I'm from New Jersey.
And I have a friend who we just got done listening to last week's podcast and really loved it. So here, let him talk to you.
Hi, this is Kermit the Frog, Ricky. And I just wanted to say I just love the intro music you played all last week during the news and the parks and all that sort of stuff, because it reminded me of the movie, the Muppet movie, the original. And with me and Fozzie and Miss Piggy, we all loved it. And the best thing about it was Fozzie and the Studebaker. So I just wanted to say how great it was and how much I loved it. And all I could do was just think of Kermit sitting in the swamp. So thanks a lot and have a great day. Keep up the good work.
All right, thanks very much to Mark and sort of Kermit there for that message. Yes, everybody loves the Muppets. And speaking of that movie, Jackie actually wrote in with an email that normally I wouldn't share an email like this on the show because there are a bit of spoilers for the Muppets movie. But Jackie really has added a number of points about the new Muppets movie that I did not mention in my recent review. So I'm going to go ahead and say right now, if you don't want to be spoiled at all about the Muppets movie, not that any of these are heavy spoilers, but not that there really is anything much to spoil about a movie that's just kind of wacky, silly comedy, but there are, a bit. So anyway, if you don't want to be spoiled, if you haven't seen the Muppets yet, why don't you go ahead and fast forward about a minute into the show so you can skip this email. And now on with the email. It is coming from Jackie, who writes, "The movie was absolutely amazing. I just got home from seeing it and had a few thoughts to share. You totally nailed your review, Ricky. It's exactly what I was thinking as I watched. I really enjoyed the music all the way through, though Me Party was very odd and out of place. Pictures in my head was quite tear-jerking for me. Very strong emotions really carried the film despite the hilarious antics of the Muppets we know and love. I really didn't enjoy the Muppets storyline, though. It didn't do much besides make the problem seem worse, and they didn't do a very good job of that, in my opinion. It could have been cut completely and wouldn't have made a difference. Likewise, what I remember of the villain wasn't that outstanding, besides the maniacal laugh bit, in which even that joke got a bit old, as it did happen many times during the movie. As for the good characters, I think Walter was a really interesting character to watch, and his excitement was very funny, even if the saves of the day thing was a bit predictable. But hey, it's the Muppets. You gotta love it. The main human actors, Jason Segel and Amy Adams, were pretty good. Their singing is all that really sticks out to me, but nevertheless, both are very talented. The theater in which I saw the movie was very enthusiastic, and this is coming from someone who's been to a Harry Potter midnight showing. Cheering, clapping, laughter, and even a few tears were shared by everyone, and I mean everyone. Young children, teens, parents, and grandparents, all types of people. I was sitting next to one woman in particular who was laughing so hard during the chickens singing CeeLo Green's Forget You that it was almost funnier than the movie. Wow. It also shocked me to see how crowded the theater was. We actually had to fill in every seat to accommodate everyone. It almost felt like we were in the Muppet Vision 3D, minus the sweaty crowds and long lines. To accommodate all our guests, please continue all the way to the end of your row, filling in all available seating. Good times. Everyone really enjoyed the film and the Toy Story tune. I never saw Cars 2 in theaters, so this was the first tune that I saw, and I'm looking forward to many more. Anyway, a particular moment that stood out for me was when all the Muppets came out on stage and sang the Rainbow Connection. I was there with my friend, singing every word by heart, grinning and crying at the same time. It was a beautiful thing. Overall, it was great to see so many people enjoying the Muppets. Well, Jackie, thanks very much for that email. I think you summarized it very well, and it sounds like you had an excellent experience going to see the film. When I saw it, it was actually a press screening of the film, so I can't say that the crowd I was with was quite as enthusiastic as yours, though they did really enjoy it. Everybody was trying to be a bit reserved, I think, in order to be kind and courteous to all of the other media who were attending so that everybody could see and hear the film in the best way that they could. With that said, there were a lot of big laughs, definitely. Certainly, some of the moments that you mentioned and some of the more emotional moments was affecting even a hardened audience of critics. So, it's great to see the critics and the general viewing public really enjoying the film. I think I said this last week, but I really want to see the movie again. I think I would enjoy it even more a second time around. Now that I sort of know it was very different than what I had expected, and now knowing what to expect out of the film, I think I would enjoy a lot of the scenes even more. Just a fun film all around. So again, thanks for the email. Let's go back to the voicemail, this time to Paul.
Hey, Ricky, this is Paul Gatter, calling from the Wilderness Lodge. I wanted to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and wanted to call in a tip for you. We just left the Magic Kingdom on Thanksgiving Day, and we were also here for Easter Day. And here our tip is that if you get, even on holiday days, if you get to the Magic Kingdom early, you can do lots of the big attractions without having any wait times. We were able to walk on to Small World, ride Peter Pan, Big Thunder Mountain, Splash Mountain, all the main attractions with absolutely hardly any wait. And then we were able to leave the park by about 10:30, and we're going to get some lunch now and miss all the crowds and enjoy our Thanksgiving Day. So I hope the tip helps, and you can check out more of our tips on our website, whereindisneyworld.com. Thanks, Ricky.
Great. Thanks very much for that tip. Always great to throw in a bonus tip here on the show. I probably could have included that as a tip for today, but why not include it here toward the end for some listener feedback. So thanks for that, and yeah, thanks for the call. And finally here, an email from Joey, who, back to the topic of World of Color, actually. Joey asks, the World of Color is an amazing show, but I was wondering if the Disney company might show it at Walt Disney World as well as Disneyland, like, for example, at the Epcot Lake where they show Illuminations. Well, Joey, that's certainly something that many people are hoping for, that some sort of version of World of Color will come out here. There was some speculation for a while that a show like it may actually end up at a former Pleasure Island area when they were working on transforming that into Hyperion Wharf. Of course, absolutely nothing has been said recently about that whole notion of Hyperion Wharf and what may or may not go in there, or if it's just a completely dead project, or who knows what's going on over there. That aside, I'm not sure that Epcot would be the perfect place for that, because that lake is huge, and it would be really difficult to see a show like that if it was done in the center, especially if you were at many of the off-angle viewing areas that would be all the way around the World Showcase. But there are certainly lots and lots of lakes all over Walt Disney World property where that could potentially work, even if in a smaller sort of form. However, I have not heard anything said. I haven't heard anything beyond just some basic speculation and rumors. I know there are talks of creator of World of Color, one of the creative leads on World of Color, Steve Davidson, working on something for out here at Walt Disney World, but I'm not sure what exactly that something is. We'll have to wait and see. So, yeah, so that is it for listener feedback this week. And that about wraps up show 347 of Inside the Magic. Hopefully you enjoyed our trip out to the Walt Disney Family Museum, which I, again, really, really encourage everybody to check out at your earliest possible time. It's a completely enjoyable experience, and definitely head on over to InsideTheMagic.net for more from that experience very soon, as well as a few other things from San Francisco as well. And the Christmas list that I went through earlier, you can find that over on the website as well. Certainly, if you're going to be doing Christmas shopping, again, I ask that you go to InsideTheMagic.net/Amazon if you'll be buying anything over there. Help support the show with every purchase that you make. I do want to thank Magical Travel for sponsoring this week's episode of Inside the Magic. You can find out more about their services by visiting magicaltravel.com. And again, I'd like to welcome our new sponsor, Theme Park Connection, who will be holding their grand opening this coming Saturday, December 3rd, right in the middle of the day. Free food. I'm going to be there for the grand opening. If you want to come out for it, should be a lot of fun. The place is really incredible, and I guarantee you'll leave with buying something, because it's very hard to resist. ThemeParkConnection.com for all the details and to find out more about their store. Also, visit us over at lanyardlab.com. Didn't include the ad earlier, but I will mention it real quick here that lanyardlab.com, my day job, is where you can find all the different styles and custom lanyard options that we have available. If you got something to promote, custom lanyard's a great way to do it, and you can request a price quote today and receive a free digital preview of your design over at, again, lanyardlab.com. And, of course, visit InsideTheMagic.net between episodes of this show for all of our videos and photos and news and articles and podcasts and everything. Find us on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. We're approaching 20,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is absolutely crazy. So check out our YouTube channel as well. So, again, hopefully everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. We're moving into the Christmas season. Should have a whole lot of holiday fun in the coming episodes of this show. So if you're looking for some Christmas entertainment from the Disney parks, definitely stay tuned for that because I will gladly share it, including some stuff from a recent Very Merry Christmas Party, etc., etc. Anyway, thanks to all of you for listening and for watching every week. Have a magical week. Goodbye.
Beautiful tomorrow, just a dream